It was really funny. I felt like I'd just been at uni and no time had passed. And yet when I did my enrollment and I worked out that I had enrolled in uni in 1995 and here we are in 2025. That's a fair bit of time. And during the enrollment process, when I rang the office to find out what I needed to do about enrolling, the young lady working at the administration's office said to me, if you give us the email address you used to enroll when you first went here, I can find your file. And I laughed and I said, email wasn't invented when I went to uni.
You're listening to Fussy Cutters Club podcast, a show that gives you permission to cut into the good fabric so you can make quilts you love. And now your host, who believes it's not a crime to love using novelty fabrics, Ange Wilson.
Hello, Fussy Cutters. This is a bit of a bonus episode today, and I use that term loosely because it is just me today. I thought I would pop in and give you a bit of a background on where I've been for the last couple of months and why the episodes have been few and far between and what's going to change in the future and where things are going. It's just a bit of a touch base, see how you go, give you some insight into what's happening behind the scenes, share some exciting stuff that I've got going on, and just, catch up like good friends that haven't spoken in a while, because that's what we are, right? So for those of you that don't get my newsletter, and if you don't, you should, so go sign up. We send a newsletter out once a week with lots of interesting links and things for you to do and free projects and paid projects and whatever. But if you haven't been getting the lowdown, and I haven't been posting on social media either, and that's a whole other thing, but I've made the decision to go back to university. I know, it's a big life change and I'm old, which my kid keeps telling me, but I don't know where to start without it being a big long-winded thing. But basically, when I left high school, my final year of high school, I didn't do that well because for the first time in my life, actually, we call it wagging in Australia, but it's where you don't go to school. You say you're going to school, but you don't go to school. I was getting bullied at school and I wasn't having a great time, and I didn't know how to admit that I wasn't having a great time and get help for that, which, different times. And so when I was one of the first in my year to get a car, and so when I got my car and my license, I stopped going to school. And so obviously my marks took a hit, and I had always through my schooling career worked towards the assumption that I would get into law and do a law degree and be a judge eventually and have this great distinguished law career. And essentially up until that point in my academic career, I could skirt by on the natural talents that the Lord had given me. And then by not going and then not applying myself, my entry-level exams to get into university were not where they needed to be to get into law. And so I went and did a Bachelor of Arts in English and History, and I never finished it. And that has always been something that I've been embarrassed about. Deeply embarrassed about, and it's always haunted me that I didn't finish it. And at various times throughout my adult life, I've thought about going back, and I even attempted at one stage when we were in Canberra to go back, but I couldn't juggle it with a full-time job. And we found ourselves in a position when I moved back to my hometown. It's nearly 4 years ago that we moved, which I just blows my mind. Time goes so quickly. When we came back up here and the university that I originally went to is here, I thought, this would be really good. I could go back to uni. And unfortunately, at the time when we originally, when we had just moved here, we had so much stuff going on and the business was going on and the kid was transitioning and we were trying to learn how to live with our new setup and all that sort of stuff that it just didn't happen at that time. But the Lord has blessed us, and in the past 6 months, my husband has secured a job here, which has allowed us to kind of ease back a little bit on the business. And I've been able to go back to uni. And I did something really crazy, and I applied for law. And I thought at the time that I wouldn't get in because, to me, law has always been this high bar of excellence, and I thought that I couldn't demonstrate that I would meet the criteria. And so I was very surprised when the local university accepted me into their law program. And because of the interest that I currently have at the moment, I applied to do a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Law, majoring in international and political relations in my Bachelor of Arts. So the university took me on. There was much conversations in our house about whether a double degree, after not having studied for 30 years, would be a workload that I could manage. And this, like, aging is such a funny thing, right? Because in my head, I'm still in my 20s. My body says I'm in my 80s, and my biological birth date is, my chronological age is 48. 48, yep. And so it was really funny. I felt like I'd just been at uni and no time had passed. And yet when I did my enrollment and I worked out that I had enrolled in uni in 1995 and here we are in 2025, that's a fair bit of time. And during the enrollment process, when I rang the office to find out what I needed to do about enrolling, the young lady working at the administration's office said to me, "If you give us the email address you used to enroll when you first went here, I can find your file." And I laughed and I said, "Email wasn't invented." When I went to uni, and her and I laughed and laughed. But yeah, so it has been a fair bit of time. But my rationale was that I could go back. We're doing trimesters now, which really I find difficult because the last time I was watching trimesters, we were waiting for the kid to turn up. But so I do trimesters, and then I figured it's only 13 weeks a trimester, so I could take the load on. And then there's this thing within the first 6 weeks of uni where if the load's too much or you want to drop a course or whatever, you can without financial penalty. And so I figured I would suck it and see. That's an Australian phrase. I don't know whether everyone has that, but. And so I enrolled. This semester I did public international law, which is a unit for my law degree. I did a second year subject called Climate Change, People and Power for my politics. And I took a second major in criminology. And so I did Introduction to Criminology. And it's been really interesting. Like I'm a really, relishing being a mature age student. I am the poster child for a mature age student. I've done all my homework. I turn up with color coordinated folders. I made myself a new school bag because when you're quilter, you can do that. I asked questions in class. I talked to the lecturers during class. Look up the dictionary for mature age student and there's me smiling with 2 thumbs up. And so I've had a really exciting, I'm currently 2 weeks off finishing my first trimester. I've done really well during this time. And I know this will sound really funny. Sidebar, last week I went to Brisbane, flew down to Brisbane for literally less than 48 hours. And I met up with Christy and her family from Quiet Play, and her family. And our partners took our kids to a Metallica concert, and her and I got to hang out together while they were off being deafened. And her 18-year-old son, who's finishing up high school, hung out with us, which was really cool. And we were talking to him about his schooling and everything. And he said the most beautiful thing. And he was like, we were talking about his application. He'd been applying himself to the task of doing well in physics. And he said, "I'm really proud of the result that I got." And I thought, that's so cool. Like as a kid to be able to identify that you are proud of yourself is something that so many adults are unable to say. And here was this 18-year-old kid sitting in front of me with his whole life, God willing, in front of him and able to go, I'm proud of the result that I did. I worked hard for that and I got a result I liked. And so he's been inspiring me because that's my thing. When I first did uni, I did well at uni, not outstanding, but I'd been flagged to do the honours course at uni and everything. So, but I was coasting. I was last minute cramming, last minute essays, all of that sort of stuff. This time round, I'm doing the prep. I'm doing the weekly reading. I'm attending all the classes. I'm paying attention. I'm researching, and my marks reflect that work. And I am very grateful to the Lord for the support that he's given me to be able to do this and the gift to be able to do it. And so I'm proud of myself. Whereas once I would have been like going to everybody, this is what I've gotten, and looking for that external validation. I'm just quietly, she says, as she broadcasts it in a podcast, proud of the work that I've done. And who would have thought that if you do what they say, you get good results? So anyway, so I've been doing really well. The other thing that was motivating me to go back to university is that our 13-year-old son constantly says to me, brings it up that I didn't finish my degree. And here I am as a parent saying to him, you need to knuckle down and apply yourself. You need to finish what you've started, And he can point to me not walking that walk. And so it's really important that he sees his mother doing what she says he should be doing and the results that I get. And so I'm not blind to the knock-on effect that it has of going and doing this. And I'd like to say that I'm going to finish my degree. I've got 5 years of full-time study ahead of me, and I'm all of like a trimester down. But that's the intention, that's the goal, and at the moment it's looking achievable. I've really struggled with the writing. Swapping between 3 disciplines has been a little bit weird because the writing for a law essay is different to the writing for a humanities essay. My politics class was a brief, which I used to do in my day job when I worked for the government anyway, so that was kind of a gimme. But going back, like referencing has changed. And then the law has a completely different referencing system to humanities. And so that's been just such a big thing to get my head around. I'm really impressed with how the university staff are so committed to their kids doing well. And it's frustrating at times when you see kids wasting that opportunity, but as the kid that wasted the opportunity the first go around, I completely understand it and empathise with them. But the school system is so set up these days to see kids succeed. And I was struck in one of my orientation week classes where they were doing an introduction to the faculty, how committed the teachers are to their kids doing well. And it was really like lovely to see people who were doing their jobs with pride and concern and trying to do the right thing for the next generation. And that's a really lovely thing in this world when you hear so much about the bad stuff all the time. And then I found it really amusing being old and seeing these kids panicking the way I panicked at that age with that opportunity in front of me and not knowing if they've picked the right classes, if they've made the right decisions, if they're doing the right thing, all of those worries. And I really struggled in those first few weeks not to just stand up in class and go, look, just enjoy where you're at. You have very limited responsibility. For a lot of them, their parents are still helping them, support them, or they've got part-time work, so they're not balancing like a full-time career just yet. They don't have kids. They don't have partners. They're at this really beautiful time in their lives where anything is possible and all they have to do is apply themselves. And, you can plan as much as you want, but it doesn't mean that that's the way it's going to roll out. And sometimes the things that you think you're going to do and don't happen are so much better than what you wanted to do in the first place. And so it's been a real privilege to be able to see these kids in the past few weeks dealing with their lives, and to be an observer of that and to watch them navigate. And especially because there was a couple of kids that I sort of befriended in orientation week, and to see how they've kind of come along and what they were concerned with, and then to be in classes where the younger people are talking about the things that are worrying to them and the way that they see the world, and to get that insight. And so long story short, I really enjoyed school. And I'm going to be like Elle Woods out of Legally Blonde. Not. So don't ask me what I'm going to do with my degree. I have no idea. What I'd actually like to do is write, and had there been a journalism component still available at the uni, I would have taken that. I'm really interested in the political side of things, and I try not to talk about that because we're just here for quilting, right? We're not here for politics. But I find the times we're living in fascinating. And so I've really enjoyed being made aware of things that I wasn't necessarily thinking about before, and seeing how some assumptions that I was holding are incorrect or fall short, or the law works differently to how I thought it would be, all of those sorts of things. And so I don't know. At the end of it, if I had to guess, I'd like to write more about the political framework we live in, understanding how decisions impact the ripple effects of those decisions, I guess. And but yeah, I did find out at the end of this semester I won't be doing any more criminology. As I said to Grant, my husband, when I got home, I said, I think I'm going to drop crim because I just can't handle the psychobabble. And he was laughing, and he said, nice way to distill a whole field into a very flippant and judgy comment. And I was like, yes, thank you. I'm very good at that. But what I meant was I was more struggling with reading the research, right? Because criminology is very research heavy. They're going with a thesis, a hypothesis, and then they do a study to try and work out and analyze the data and all of that sort of stuff. And as much as I find it fascinating about what drives someone to commit crime and the ways in which we can help lower crime rates, help support youth through the system, help youth not even touch the system, all of that sort of stuff, I really don't, it doesn't fill my bucket. So I think in going forward, I'm going to pick up some history classes, which I had done previously and really enjoyed. So I think, I know this sounds really funny, but with age, I've come to realize that we have a really short-term memory as a society. And a lot of the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis, we've dealt with before, and we tend to repeat the same mistakes again and again. And I don't know whether I'm just really sensitive to it at the moment because I'm at that age now or what, but the way in which we are so dismissive of history and being mindful of what's gone before, and the way that wisdom is no longer seen as something to attain, and youth is held up as being this thing that that we favour over wisdom. And I find that really weird. And so, all of that stuff feeds into it. None of that is quilting related, but it is reflective of the fact that I've been in the quilting business now for 13 years. The kid's 13. I've been running my own business for a majority of that time. I've done lots of amazing things. And this is what I think of when I think of those kids making their decisions about what they're going to do. I had a very particular plan for how I thought my life was going to roll out, and none of that has happened the way that I thought it would. And I would not change that for anything. And I am here today, and I am the person I am today because of all of those experiences, and I am very grateful for those. And with the business side of things, I love writing quilt patterns. I love designing and seeing them come to life. I love playing with fabric, but I've got a little bit of burnout, and it's natural. I mean, I think there's a reason why at 10 years is when we get long service leave in Australia and you get 3 months off to go and do whatever you want, because I think you need to recharge. And I've found when I first went back to uni, I just completely stopped doing everything with the business. I've not posted to social media. I didn't send out newsletters, although I am now, so you should go sign up for it. I didn't do podcasts. I just dropped everything. And I needed that. It's probably not been the best decision for my business financially, because it has had a big downturn because of it at a time when, we could do with some extra cash. But it's helped me to re-energize and refocus. And instead of quilting being the focus of my life, it's now back to being a side hustle. And I really enjoy it being a side hustle focus instead of the primary focus, if that makes sense. And I think it's reflective of the fact that if you take something you love and you turn it into a job, it's a job. Like, you have to turn up when you don't feel like it. You have to make stuff when you don't feel like it. You have to release stuff when you don't feel like it. You have to be on social media when you don't feel like it. You have to partake in all of that stuff when you don't feel like it. And that's okay, but doing that day in, day out wears you down. And so I've really struggled over the last 3 years to keep happy in this space. And I know happiness is a luxury, and a lot of people don't have that luxury. And I am very fortunate to be in a position where I can do a job of my own making. And so none of that is lost on me. I'm just at the point where I need my batteries recharged. And so that's what I've been doing in amongst all the study. And I have been more prolific in the past 13 weeks than I have in the past 13 months. And I've been sewing and finding joy in that process. I've been excited to get back and do stuff. I'm re-evaluating my interaction with social media, because I do think, and the studying hasn't helped that, because we cover social media and criminology, and quite frankly, it's destructive. How to get back into that. I've really missed the podcast, and I have a lot of ideas about how I would like to further the podcast and what we'll see in this space, because I think it's really important to find other people to connect with. And I like that we can have this conversation and be together in your creative space, or in your car, or in your headphones, or wherever you are, and I'm with you and you're with me, and we're connecting in some way that we wouldn't have been able to do in any other time in history. And so it's a really special thing. And I've really enjoyed meeting other creatives, and I think that's part of what's helped me focus on what I needed to do in this part. I'd listened and spoken to so many people about how they'd done things and what they did in burnout and all of that sort of stuff, that a path forward for me became clearer. And so that was really interesting. So the podcast is coming back. We're likely going to move to a every 2 weeks format, just to be able to balance everything and to keep the interviews fresh, and to get a variety of people and balance with all of the stuff. So at this stage, I'm planning a fortnightly release for the podcast. The other thing that I've been thinking of is how I'm going to release stuff moving forward. And so I've got a slew of patterns up my sleeve for the next 12 months that I've never been in this position of having before. And I'm really excited about doing that. There's some collaborations coming up that I'm really excited about. And you're going to see my work in a way that you've not seen it before. And I'm really nervous about that. I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I've been given. I'm grateful for the confidence that people have had in working with me, and I can't wait to sort of share that with the world. Christy and I are going to Norfolk Island in July in 2026. We're hosting a retreat, and as much as we've done retreats before, this one feels a little bit different. And I think because the pressure isn't there that there has been in the past, I'm more confident in my skill set, and I'm more confident in giving people value for money. Plus, I'm really excited to go to Norfolk Island. And if you've if you don't know about Norfolk Island, it's an island in the middle of the ocean, like literally in the middle of the ocean. Like you cannot see another country from that island. It is the island that the people from the Bounty, Captain Bligh, I think it is, the Mutiny on the Bounty. If you've seen that movie, Norfolk's where they end up. It's got I think, Tahitian influence in there. It is part of Australia, but it's considered international. So when you fly there, it's international, and which means duty free and all that sort of stuff. It is kind of equidistant between Australia and New Zealand. It has no snakes, no spiders, which, just between you and me, after living at this place for the last 4 years, I'm so excited to go somewhere where there's no reptile, snake threat. It is really stunning. My parents have been twice in the last 2 years and they love it. We had talked about whether we could all move there, but because the kids still got to go to school and now I got to go to school, it's a bit too far. But yeah, so we're doing a week-long retreat on Norfolk Island, and it's a mix of sewing. It is just sewing. You bring the projects. We've got a couple of projects and a special guest star teacher that you can choose to do those projects. We've got a very amazing space to be sewing in. Like it's like an atrium kind of, it's just, yeah, it's amazing. I'm really excited to see it in person. Where we're staying has stunning views of like the cliffs and the way, like the ocean, and the color of the ocean is amazing. Like just because it's cold and it's windy and it's out in the middle of nowhere. And anyway, it's going to be an experience. And I know this sounds really funny, it's actually quite cost effective, which has been a great thing because the package that we've been able to secure has all your flights, your meals, your accommodation. We're doing some amazing extracurricular activities, which I'm really looking forward to. Like we're going on what they call a fish fry, which you go and you basically eat outdoors. That sounds really basic, but you eat outdoors at this stunning location and they put on a Polynesian, Tahitian display. The food is cooked there. It's all fresh. We do that. We do tours. We're doing a tour of the island. We're doing some of the history because the history on the island is amazing. And there's other things that we're doing that are escaping my mind at the moment. But so it's a good balance between getting out and about and experiencing island life and sewing, essentially. So if you want to come, the information's on the website. You can check it out. We have a travel agent handling everything. Yes, you can come from internationally, and because we're exiting out of Brisbane or Sydney, so you can fly straight in, straight out. There's flights from New Zealand as well into Australia and then onto the island. And it is, like I said, really cost effective, and I'm really excited about it. So I hope if you've got the capacity that you might want to come and join us, because Christy and I are really looking forward to doing it. We're planning a special little quilt for it. Yeah. And I'm just looking forward to laughing. Like laughter is medicine for the soul. And I find every time we have a retreat and get together, my sides hurt from laughing. My face hurts from laughing, the tears. And quilty people are the best, right? So why wouldn't you want to come and hang out with people for a week? If you don't have a buddy to come with, that's okay. You come, you be our buddy. That's the whole way it works. We're making new friends. We're doing stuff that's exciting and unusual and having just a great time. So that's going on. What else? That's pretty much it. I said this was going to be quick, and this has not been quick. But yeah, so there's heaps of stuff going on, heaps of changes, but life is really good. Like it's just, I know it's on paper, the world looks like a really troubling place at the moment, and I get that. And I know that there's been loss and heartache, and in the last 6 months, I've lost an uncle, and another one that's going through treatment at the moment. We've had some fairly heavy things happen around job security and, the kids transitioning from primary school into high school. And it's been a tumultuous time, but through the whole thing, I've just tried to keep my eye on the prize. And I know that a lot of you aren't religious, but for me, that is my faith. And I've been very grateful for that faith during this time. And I hope that wherever you are, that you are finding your way through this world, and that if you're using fabric to do that, then, we've got something in common. Because let me just tell you, the last 6 months, there have been some amazing collections released. There's some amazing collections coming up, and I'm really excited to start playing with fabric again. Like, I have been sewing in the background, and it just feels good, right? To put fabrics together and to play with colour and to make something. And the other thing I found too, I've really enjoyed using my brain. For so long, I've found in this world that being smart is frowned upon, and critical thinking is being phased out. We haven't even talked about AI. Critical thinking is being phased out from the world. And so for a long time, I thought to get along with people and to get around in the world, I had to hide the fact that I was a thinker. I enjoyed thinking. I'm an academic at heart. I enjoy it. I enjoy thinking about quilting. I enjoy hearing others talk passionately about their quilting adventure. I could listen to a TED talk on pretty much anything as long as the person giving it was excited about doing it, excited about what they were talking about. And that excites me and recharges me. And I've really enjoyed the last 13 weeks of being able to think, to debate, to read, to find stuff out, to look at the world differently and try and see different perspectives and understand where people are coming from and understand my position in the world a bit better and all of those sorts of things. And so, it's maybe I am having a midlife crisis. No. I've gotten to the age, right, where I know myself well enough now, and I'm not making apologies for knowing who I am. And it's okay to be me, and it's okay to be you. And it's those differences that bring us together, not push us apart, because that's what makes life exciting, and the variety and all of those sorts of things. So, long-winded way of saying, podcasts are back every 2 weeks. We've got an episode for you today, and we're back in 2 weeks with another episode. If there's anybody you would like me to talk to, chat with, drop me a line and let me know. If there's anything that you've got any questions you want answered, let me know. I'm not a fully fledged lawyer yet, so I can't help with any of that stuff. Although I do like dropping it every so often to within my family, we chuckle. I'll say something and I go, I'm a solicitor, I'm not, by the way. But anyway. So yeah, if you need anything, give me a yell. In the meantime, enjoy. I hope you're working on something fun, and I hope you can make time this week, today, this month to get in your happy place and fondle some fabric. Have a great day, Fussy Cutter.
Thanks for listening to the Fussy Cutters podcast. Enjoyed listening? Why not subscribe so you'll never miss an episode? Did you know the quickest way to the heart of any podcaster is to leave a review or recommend the podcast to a friend? It's true, it is. Until next week, get out there and fondle that fabric.